74. So it started up pretty good on the first shot on 74. Now at this point, I am going to, actually I'm going to let it run so it comes up to op temp. But I'm going to let it run, let it get up to op temp, and then we'll start tuning again. All right, so these next few runs are going to be pretty boring, I think. We're just going to turn the boost down. We're going to do a couple test hits just to make sure that the AF4 is still in line. Keep in mind that we only have one fuel table at the moment, so we're going to see how far off the fuel table is compared to the log, and then we'll make some changes. And at that point, we'll add a secondary fuel table if we need to. Obviously, we have 2 ignition tables and everything else, but those are set up right now where it's blending fully from one table at the moment. And the ignition timing table is the exact same between the 2 fuels, just to keep everything simplistic for now. So like I said, these next few runs, they're nothing crazy, so just sit back and enjoy. All right, so we're having some problems here. Turning it up, the boost controller won't go beyond 20 PSI. We've got like about 70 or 80% duty cycle on the boost controller, and it just won't exceed 20. And the crazy thing is that there's a massive dip at 5,500 or so, and there's nothing I can really do about it. So the runs, I mean, are pretty close to what I think is pump gas numbers, right? So we're gonna let the car, what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna kind of start playing around with AVCS timing. So this car does have GSE cams. Okay, so if you're looking at the graph, right now it's not as aggressive, but once you turn the boost up, you can see that there's a dip right there. So as you guys can see, it's coming down. And it's really strange about this is that the boost comes down, or yeah, the boost comes down and then it fires right back up right after. And so I'm thinking that maybe it's a cam overlap issue. If you have overlap with boost, it does what's called a chill basically, and it sends it out just directly through the exhaust. And some overlap is going to be inevitable, like you have to have it, but we're gonna play around with this a little bit and then just pray that this fixes our problem. Again, we're not turning up the boost at all. We're gonna leave the boost controller alone so we have less variables, and then we're gonna start playing a little bit with the intake and exhaust AVCS and then see if that nets us anything. So we've added 2 degrees on the intake side, and like I said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add 2 degrees here. We're gonna check out our dyno runs to see if it makes any difference. Then we'll go to our exhaust side and remove 2 degrees, and we're just gonna rinse and repeat that. So these next couple videos, I'm not really gonna go into it, just, you know, a bunch of clips of dyno runs really. So first and foremost, try to ignore this bottom part here. The eddy brake is starting to get hot since we've done a couple runs over and over. But once it stabilizes, you can see that removing exhaust AVCS altogether has been netting us some gains. Are they anything crazy? No, not really. But the overall curve is working out. And the best part about it though is that that dip that we were seeing was definitely caused by overlap. So now that we've retarded the timing a little bit, we're starting to get less overlap because we're moving the center line away. I'm not going to go into that. That's kind of like a building mechanical type thing, so you guys need to do some independent research. But essentially, what we're doing is that we've reduced the time that both the exhaust and intake valves are open, and it's actually netting us a better curve. So we're going to let it cool down because we've done 3 runs back to back, and then we're going to pull some more intake timing out of it again, and then we're going to see if that nets us any more power or if we're starting to get diminishing gains. So you can see that the jump in torque is pretty massive here in comparison to what it was before. So we're on the right track here. So it seems that the adding 2 more degrees netted us a huge horsepower loss. So we're kind of in the -4 intake is kind of where it seems to be happy as far as like making overall power. The yellow line here seems to just make power all the way through. So I would say at that point intake is dialed in. We're gonna go back and make some changes. And so what we're gonna do now though is we're gonna go ahead and delete these other runs. We're gonna delete the runs with the exception of the -4 timing, and then we're gonna set it back to the complete stock timing and start doing the exhaust side of it. Okay, so I accidentally deleted some of the runs, notably adding 2 degrees of exhaust timing. So pulling 2 degrees of exhaust timing yielded a little bit more power up top, just a hair, but then adding 4 degrees of exhaust timing caused a significant gain below 5250. But beyond that, it seems like not changing exhaust at all seems to have the best effect from 5250 and above. Okay, so now with our cam timing dialed in, what we're going to try to do now is we're going to start turning up the boost. Now, as you guys know, we had that little dip that was in the graph, and cam timing actually fixed all that. So we're going to turn it back up and see if we can get any more boost. Now, I want you also to keep in mind as well is that we haven't run any ignition timing at all. We're still on pump gas timing. So we want to push the boost up now to see if we can, how much further before we run out of fuel system. So right now, I think we were seeing about like 65% duty cycle or so. So like I said, we're trying to get it to 80, maybe even 85%, just because that this car is it's not a track car. You know, he drives it from time to time. So it's more of a weekend warrior than anything else. So like I said, we just want to push the limits of the fuel system a little bit harder, but not crazy. Like I said, 80% is ideal, 85% we can push it a little bit and just kind of see what that nets is. Once we we're still having problems with the STI. The good news is that the link CAN connector showed up, so I'm able to run the wideband and the BTI gauge all at the same time now. So there's definitely that. More data never hurt anybody. But yeah, we're gonna let it come up to temp. We're gonna do one more pass and then just see what happens, but it's not looking good. So I've been looking at other people's dyno graphs on this turbo setup, and it seems like everyone gets spooled pretty quickly, but this car just seems really laggy. Now this car did have rod knock, and that's why it came in for the new short block, but I don't know if maybe that's part of the problem or not. I'm not really too sure. Either way, we've got to try to figure this one out though. All right, hopefully this doesn't fall off or anything while we're doing this run, but I'm just gonna do one last pull and just see if it makes any real difference here after the car's cooled down. We're up to temp at the moment, so let's run it. There's got to be something wrong with this car. I don't know what it is, but I've got the average run on 18 pounds of boost. Now granted, we are running 18 pounds of boost on both sets of fuel, but I've added 7 or 8 degrees of timing or something like that overall. Plus I've optimized cam timing, and you're telling me that it's only making 15 more horsepower and about that in torque. And another thing too that I have a big problem with is that the max torque here we're seeing is at 6,200 RPMs, like here. This car, like with this turbo from other graphs that I've been looking at, make peak torque like 4,500 RPMs. There's got to be something wrong here. I don't know what it is. Unfortunately, we ran out of time today. I've been on the dyno all day with this car, and it feels like we haven't made any real progress. So there's got to be something going on with this thing. All right, so unfortunately, there's not much else I can do with this car in terms of tuning it, but I'm gonna take it up and down the street and just make sure that everything is situated on this car, and then the owner can basically pick it up until we're ready to do some more fun stuff, I guess. So let me go ahead and get this all set up here with a log. This thing is slower than balls. Sure, we've got to have a coupler loose or something, because there's no way that just made 8 pounds of boost. Okay, it potentially got worse. We adjusted some intercooler piping, took it up and down the street, and it struggled to make like 5 pounds of boost. So pretty sure that this turbo's on its way out. Besides being slow, the car runs healthy. It doesn't seem like it has any real problems, but something definitely ain't right about this one. So pretty sure it's you know, we're hoping that it's going to be a bad turbo, unfortunately for this fella, but that means that he's just going to have to step it up